Well, there's another video on the secondary hole. On this portion, on this video, we'll start dealing with the lighting. Go back to the arboretum. If you remember about this little doohickey, about the little pedestal thing that I wanted to illuminate, well, kind of already got it ready to go. I used a 5mm blue LED and put like a 300 ohm resistor. If you remember what I said, I think on the last video about resistors, you're pretty much good to like 200 to even 500. The higher the number, the more voltage it's going to resist, or it'll make it dimmer. This one, I believe it was at 300, because I don't really want this overly bright, and I also light blocked it. And of course, I left this off so I can kind of show you. Here, I'm going to turn this off here for a sec, and I'm going to plug it in, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here on this guy. Pretty neat, and you'll be able to see it like through the trees and stuff. So nice little thingy thing. So now I just actually want to seal this thing up. That's why I didn't seal this up yet, because I wanted to show this thing. So just going to dab some model glue. Okay. Oh, by the way, little tip, get these at like Hobby Lobby. These are great, because like the little test stores or whatever, model glue thingy that's thin tends to like to dry in the tip, and it's a pain just to even undo that dumb thing. So what I did was just bought some of these and put a little bit of model glue in there, and it makes it easier to clean out, because squeeze it, push some air through it, so it'll keep the nozzle free, and seal it back up. And plus, I like to keep it in a dark place too. I really need to wrap that. So also, I made sure I ran my wires to the back side on this one, because it's going to go up and over and tie in with part of the whole shuttle bay lighting. Also, when you go to set this thing in, you might want to bore out these holes just a little bit wider, because after when you're light blocking your inside your hole and all that other stuff, the paint buildups makes it really kind of tight. And these things are already as tight as it is, so just bore it out a little bit wider. It makes it easier to set in. And trust me, when it comes to actually placing the shuttle bay and this inside, you're really going to need to do that. It'll just make life a lot easier. Trust me, when we get to that bridge, you'll understand. Just keep that in mind. So this one's kind of already done. So what's next is the turbo lifts that are in the back, like I was explaining before, that I want to do 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, just so I can get my learning curve. I already did the bottom ones. These ones are in white, and I pre-drilled a hole just for the thickness of this. These are 3mm LEDs, by the way. So, and also I have it run like towards the back. I CA glue them in place. Don't want to do on the front because the Arboretum, when you install this whole thing, it basically sits like right there. I barely had enough clearance. So if you're going forward, you're kind of screwed. So keep that in mind. So we're going to do these right now on the top, but we need to make the hole first. So what I like to do is start with my little pin vise and just kind of, what I need to do is actually put something underneath here so I don't smash my LEDs. And find some type of something. Here we go. Put my tape like this. Just use a roll of tape just to keep it okay so I don't put too much pressure. And I'm literally going right on top of the original, where you can see where you glue the turbo lift thingies in here. All I'm doing is actually making a pilot hole. That's all I'm really doing. No specific size on this, just something small enough just to make it easier, because I'm going to have to drill out with a drill the actual, the actual width of the hole, a wider hole. If you start with the wider hole, it could slip and walk and then you're out of alignment, because that's the whole point of using these original nubs, because it keeps you dead center right in line to where it needs to be. Some cases like this one, it kind of sticks up a little bit. You may have to like sand it flush, but I'm like going really careful on making sure I'm stay dead center on it. I mean, I'm off just a hair off it, so I'm kind of angling toward it, and then I'm right now going to get myself back straight down on it. Okay, got a nub to where I just made a pilot hole. Now I need to grab my drill. I got a drill on low speed, and I got a bit in here that's exactly the same diameter as a 3mm LED. So the fun part is just not trying to be crooked. I'm just taking it slow just to hog out. And then grab a little LED, just kind of put it in, see if you need to go a little bit more. Remember, as long as you're dead center, you're not going to go break through the turbo lift. And the turbo lift's like 5mm wide, but just let's keep testing. Blow out your junk. I need to go about a couple millimeters more. More. It's okay to go little bits at a time, because it just ensures that you're not going to go too deep. Just a little bit more. Okay, that's where I like that one.
That's as far as it got.
You know I'm filming?
Oh.
Now I just got a boy in here showing him. Okay. Okay. So now I got 2 holes in there. Now I want these ones blue, but this is a white LED. So it just blew up the hole. That's right, blew up the hole. Of course, I don't have a brush with me. I just need any old brush. Let's get a good amount in there. Okay. You know, and for the giggles, just take your LED and swish it in there too. It'll turn it blue. Losing stuff. So that side, get my other LED, swish it in there too. Blue on blue. Okay. So of course the blue has to dry up a little bit. And so right now we're gonna make, the LEDs. I'm gonna show you on how I wire them together. And it's pretty much gonna be the same process with all the LEDs throughout this build. So here's a little one on one or one on how many you want. So okay, this is kind of like LED solder and wiring 101, whatever. Let me go through the things that I'm using. This help enhance things here, believe me, it's a lifesaver. My soldering iron with adjustable temp, I have this pretty much on the highest setting. I like to use like the fine tip, well, not fine tip, but a really sharp point soldering tip. What else? Oh yeah, my solder is like a very thin gauge solder, easier to melt. So as far as the wiring, I'm using 30 AWG. It is so thin you could almost just pinch it and it'll pull out. Just an easier way to do it is just take a lighter like this, put on there for a sec, that's it, and then just pull. That's it. Doesn't harm the wire. Sometimes you may have to go back and get a little bit more. I like to have maybe about 1/4 of an inch exposed of wiring, a little twist. So I'm pretty much going to pre-do all the wires I'm working with, which is two sets of wires. Yeah, I know you can't see me do this in front of the camera. Once I move this, maybe I can do it. I'm just going to use a little bit more. That's like about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so I got my 2 wires, red and white. The reason why I'm choosing red and white, because going through my antenna control instructions, it kind of tells you what goes to what, and I'm trying to match much of the wiring to its wiring on the board as possible. Now when it comes to LEDs, it has 2 legs. You have it's kind of hard to show you, but 2 legs. There's one longer than the shorter one. The longer one is positive, shorter one is negative. So which one do you put a little resistor to? It actually doesn't matter. On my instructions, in the Tender Controls instruction says do it to positive, so I'm just going to do it anyways, just to avoid confusion. But you know what? It works both ways. Just because you think of positive as it's going in and the negative side going out, it's not like that. So you can't think of it like that. You can put it on the negative and it'll still work. I'm almost about ready to demonstrate it for you, but nah, I won't do it. I could, but that's just waste of another video. Believe me, you can find it online. Believe me, just take my word. Anyone you want. So now I get my little helpy handy. I'm gonna do the positive one first. So just a little spread of the legs. Ooh, that's what she says. Now, give myself the resistor. I want to trim off a little bit just to start. I kind of saved the little pegs here because I use them in this prototyping board, which is also helpful when it comes to wiring too. So that's something you guys may want to invest in if you can. They're very cheap too. So now just gotta get everything lined up to where I'm happy. There you go. With a kind of touch. It's also good to always pre-tin too. I didn't do it on this one, but you know. Anyways, when you start, make sure you have like a wet sponge. Drag it around a little bit. I use this steel wool thing glued into like an old spray can cup. It cleans off your tip. A lot of soldering problems is because no one ever cleans their tips, and it gets oxidation on it, and it's just no good. So now I like to kind of hold it underneath. This is harder for me to do with the camera in the way, like right here, but there you go. And then again, clean tip, oxidize, and also pre-tin your tip before you set it back in there. Covering your tip with solder at all times, even when you're done, preserves your tips. So now this is done. It's got a good bond. Now I'm going to trim off a little excess over here. Okay. Put it back in my little helpy hand thing. Now I'm going to add wire. Just for sake of pre-tinning, I'm going to show you this. Oh yeah, gotta clean off the solder that was melting on here. Okay, pre-tin that. Kind of line it up where it's touching. And then also pre-tinning with some of the solder on it will actually help. It gives it more solder to bond to. Like that. That's it. For that one, clean off. Pre-tin. Now we'll get set up for the negative side. Oops, I'm using the old solder on here. Clean off some of this junk. Let's go ahead and Yeah. Come on, take. Maybe I'll just pretend that. Okay. Now we connect this. All right. Check them both. Get a good tug. Now, I'm not done yet. I want to make sure everything is. Since they're connected, but I want to keep them protected because you never know what happens during the process. So, some heat shrink tubing. This is like the smallest I can get it. It's just about the. Here's an example on the thickness. So it's pretty close. I like to have enough just to be like about a 1/2 inch at least past the solder joints on each side. So I'll just take a trim off here, and then I can use the excess for over there. So I'll slip it through. Oh, wrong side, and use the bigger side for that. And of course, if any of you guys watching this who already know how to do this part, then, you know, good for you. But I'm sure there's probably somebody out there that's needs a little help. So that's what I'm trying to do. And if you don't like it, oh, fuck you. So now, a little shrinkage. And also, you know, like it protects it, and also make sure it stays together. So that's it. Is how you do it. Now it's still a little hot. So now we need to test our connections. Should always do this before, you know, everything's said and done. Let's turn it on. We have power, and it's at 9 volts, and it's reduced. If you were to go to do this without a resistor, you'd blow your LED. So now, gotta actually glue it into the damn shuttle bay. So now, time to attach our little LEDs in there. I'm going to be using canopy glue just because stuff dries clear. It's actually starting to become my favorite when it comes with, you know, with LEDs and clear parts. Put a little glob on the inside. I want to make sure that where I put my LEDs, they got to go this way when it comes to wiring. So putting this one in here like so, this one in here like so, and then just gonna leave it like that. And so when it dries, fold these over. We'll attach all the white wires together, all the red wires together, and then splice a whole new white wire and red wire to make it one wire, because it's all going to be on the one same circuit. And then, of course, you know, we'll CA glue these things down so they're secure. And then we'll be doing the landing strip. Well, we have our little turbo lift lights. They're in place, wired, and I have them going to the front, secured. So basically all 4 lights are now joined to basically these 2 leads. Now we're going to deal with the landing bay strip. So I did a little prep work off camera, so I figured right now would be a good time to show you what I plan on doing. Remember, this is like a sequential landing gear. You know, it's going to go blink, 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 blink. So I needed 2 rows for 5 lights per row. So what I did is kind of like make like, I didn't drill all the way through, but I made like a little indentation to kind of like be able to set the LED in. And I started with this as a pilot hole just to make it a little easier, and then I just finished off with a little bit of my pin vise, just enough to set it in. Basically the last 4 are going to be with was it 0603 LEDs, which I have one of them already glued in place right there. But the last one I'm going to be using is an 0805 SMD, really tiny son of a, can't even focus on it. And the only reason why I'm putting it up here is because of the clearance between the bottom of the fantail and of this landing strip. So I have a feeling that this will be just too thick and it'll press up against it, but this will be just fine. So now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and like glue in 8 of these, and then let's see, off camera, and 2 of these on each end. And then we'll go and I'll explain how the wiring for this sequential landing gear is. So what we have now here is a kind of a jumbled mess that it looks like. I didn't want to go ahead and just film all this wiring because I just kind of described on how you solder wires and resistors together. And honestly, just wiring this, it would be like a 4-hour video, only because of all the testing between each step, every little thing, test before we're final. But anyways, I'll just go ahead and run down what's done. Obviously from the last section is that we already have the lights for the turbo lifts, they're in place. And the reason why of all this jumble mess is for the sequential landing strip. There are a total of 10 LEDs on here, like I've described before. There's 2 on each row right here. I did this one different than what you typically see with the sequential landing gear. Usually it's you have your stripes and then you'll have them off to the side. But that's more accurate if you're going to go for the shuttle bay look in Star Trek 5, which is the only other time you see it. But that's for the Enterprise A. Basically, like going back to the other videos and watching the damn motion pictures, the only time you see this shuttle bay, and technically it's a matte painting, so you really don't see any lit on this, but this part, it's like use your imagination. So instead I'm having it lit through the stripes. I don't have the board hooked to it, but I did test it, so I know that the board works as far as the sequential parts. But as of right now, I have it kind of like wired, all lit up as one. But first, we'll just go ahead and I'll see if I can show you how the turbo lift effect is. So I got to get that wired up or powered up. And since I'm using the Tenna Controls Mega Board, of course you know that the turbo lift parts are resisted. So we'll see if you can see it. Blue on the top, white on the bottom, so how they fade in together. Now for the sequential landing gear, if I can get this thing off, per instructions, there are no resistors on these, so I got to be careful. Make sure I turn my voltage down to 3, because on the board itself it'll do it for you. If I just went, because these are at 9 volt with resistor, and those, if I went ahead and threw the 9 volt, I'd just wreck all this, and then I'm really screwed. So this part you have to use your imagination. Wrong wires. Okay, here we go. Because as far as this, I have two sets of harnesses going. I'll explain that later. this is what the landing, let me see if I can do this, make this a little easier to see. See, there's 5 sections. Just imagine it going from front to back, front to back, front to back, one by one. So yeah, that's how that looks. That one SED is actually a warm white, and the rest is bright white. Kind of not really meant to be that way, but I'll live with it. I do like the warm white look better. But yeah, that's how that's going to turn out. So, and of course, something like this, it's like pay attention to your wiring and all your instructions and stuff, because this is just a nightmare to do. As far as getting the interior lit, that's going to be done through the secondary hole, which is the next part of this phase. But as of this itself, it's got its 2 sections. This wiring harness right here is for the secondary hole, which these colors match up to what's on per, instructions to make it easier to figure out later. And these 2 are for the turbo lift, which also going to be wired with that will be the arboretum. That's why that has the same red and white. And I'm going to put them into the I'm going to wire them with the interior lighting as well. But that's also going to be part of the inside of the secondary hull. So as far as this one is pretty much done until installation. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the secondary hull, the top piece for it, and we'll start adding lights to that. I already kind of pre-wired some of it already, measured out, got my strips going. 3, as of right now, I got 3 strips for the hull itself, 2 for the main part of the hull, and 1 for the top. Already pre-soldered and pre-wired, just to make life easier on that. Remember what I got here. I did a couple custom work. I'll explain later when we get to do the spotlights for the pylons. Pre-wired a bunch of these. Had to cut, these are 5mm, but I had to grind them down, shave them a little bit, and put a little bit of drop a little bit of clear paint on it, just to make a lens, kind of make the lens back again. I'll explain when we get to that why I chose these. This is not even supposed to be here. I have 2 navigational and 1 strobe, pre-wired, ready to go. And these 2 is for the back of the fantail, for the upper red part. If you're wondering, why do I have a red and a white? Well, also a good thing too is, when you get your kit, if you get one of these kits and stuff, or from anybody else that has with LEDs included, make sure you test and check them first, make sure none are dead, and make sure you get the right ones. There was I'm not going to argue about it. It's just, it happens. Basically, in the mega board kit, if you get it with the wire, extra wiring and all the LEDs included, in the kit there's supposed to be 3. There are 3 1.5mm. Basically, it gives you an extra one. So there should have been 3 red ones. Instead, I got 2 white ones and 1 red. Well, I need 2 for the thing, so I just took one of the whites and dipped it into the Tamiya and gave me a red one. So just like the same thing I did with the turbo lift, just dip it in there and make your own color with the white. So that's where that one is. So now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and I'll show you what we got to do to get the light in the secondary hull, and also and I did a little bit of just a little bit of paint work on the outside part. I'll explain that as I bring it over. Well, right now it's another damn hot August day. So of course, now in the middle of this video it almost seems like a beginning of another. Just want to mention right off the bat, doing these videos, of course, takes like days in between. Well, it takes me days just to make one episode, just because, hey, you gotta wait for shit to dry and that kind of stuff, and you know. Well, anyways, this month of August for me, work wise, not only is going to be a madhouse for me, I'm not going to be able to spend much time doing this thing, because basically I'm going to be putting in probably about 60 hours a week. On top of the only free time I'll have is when it's pretty much warm, which makes it kind of unbearable in here to do it. Well, anyways, with that, so there might be a little bit of delays on when I get content out. I try to do it weekly. It may be every other week. We'll see how it goes. I'll try to get something out as soon as possible. Anyways, with that said, something else I want to talk about. Even though we're in the video on lighting this thing, I want to talk about this stuff that I've been using. Here's the problem that I have with it. Listen to this. Dry and recoat times based on 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius, which is nice and comfortable. Believe me, in here we're looking at 85, 90. With the 50% relative humidity, allow more time for cooler temperatures to dry. Remember that, more time, cooler temperatures. So warmer, it should be quicker. Yeah. Dries to the touch in 2 to 4 hours. What that means is really, it should be dry enough if some dust lands on it, it won't stick to it. That's what it means. It doesn't mean get all grabby. To handle is in 5 to 9 hours, and fully dry 24 hours. I could tell you, in this temperature, I've waited 3 days, 72 hours, and it was still soft and grabby. You know your paint is not fully dry and cure is when you go to touch it and you move your finger across it and it wants to, your fingerprint just grabs a little. That means it's too soft. It is not dry. It should just be able to be smooth, just smooth across it. That's how you know. So in 24 hours, like this says, fully dry, which means you should be able to do whatever the heck you want with it at 70 degrees. I call bull. Apply a second coat or clear coat within 1 hour or after 48 hours. Now I can see the 48 hours because sometimes if your clear coat is not really the same type of material, whatever, you don't want it to react weird. You want to make sure what you're spraying on top of has been fully cured. So we'll just say 48 hours max. You should be able to do anything you want in 48 hours. Like I said, in this temperature, 3 days, 72 hours, it was not even close to cured. I don't know if it's just this can itself, something's wrong with the formula in this, or it's with all of this. Of course, you know, the reason why I chose to go this instead of spending a fortune on a little can of like Tamiya spray, which I'd have to spend like 4 or 5 cans on them, is basically on how to do painting and stuff like this on a budget. Is the proof that you can do this on cheaper stuff and still make it just as good and last just as long. So my opinion is, I don't know if any of you use this before. It has the same thing. If you have, any of you use this and you're having the same difficulty as I am with this, I would suggest something different. Even maybe the Painter's Touch Krylon line or whatever, or Duplicolor. You might have better luck, but I'm going to stick with this. Just so you know, I'm sticking with this anyways, only because I'm going to have the extra time to let things dry for this month. But what I did on some of my pieces here, oh, by the way, when I mean about 72 hours on how thick my coat was, it was a light coat too. So that's even more weird. It wasn't even heavy enough to really should take that long to dry. Anyways, I already went ahead did much of the, of course, from the last video, is do much of fill in and sand in as possibly needed. I sprayed my adhesion promoter on it, and I put a light coat of the white on it, knowing that way I can see some of the any other imperfections that still need work, and I'm not burying too much of it at once, knowing that I'd probably still have to do it. And it also kind of puts that barrier on the adhesion promoter, because I don't want to sand off the adhesion promoter doing that type of work. I'd rather sand on a thin bit of the base coat while the adhesion promoter / primer is underneath it. Just an extra barrier to work with. So, and here comes another dumb story. I want to talk about this little guy right here. I had to make that one. There's nothing wrong with the kit part. There's absolutely nothing wrong. So you ask, why did I have to make this little motherfucker? I got a stupid teenage kid. Long story short, while I was away, he was doing some work here in the shop, and I don't know if he was doing something over here, which I had, I had my pieces kind of put away and whatever, but a couple things still sitting out. I painted the little piece black because it needed to be light blocked, and just left it alone. And of course, I've been out of here for like a few days, haven't been a chance to go in here, and sometime during that time he was working on something in here, and he was trying to clean up his stuff. So most likely the little tiny piece about the size of my pinky nail, painted black, that honestly, if you didn't know what it was, it would just look like trash, probably got knocked on the floor, and you probably swept up or something and accidentally threw it away. Mother. And it's not like you can find a 3D printed one, like an aftermarket one on that for this. I've looked. So any of you watching this that actually makes 3D printed parts, heck, even if you actually do it for all the other custom stuff, maybe make one of these too that's also designed for the floodlight in the front, other than just the strobe there too. And maybe even 3D print resin piece some of the other extra small shit, because I was about ready to go and spend another $100 on another kit just for that little dumb piece. Ridiculous. But instead, I decided to try to fabricate it myself. So, got a couple pieces of, I don't know what the millimeter is, but it's just real thick polystyrene sheets. Cut a couple pieces out, glued 2 of them together, sanded it, shaped it, looked at many screenshots. I've held the piece so many times because I've been recently monkeying and modifying with it, so I knew what it looked like, about how big it was. Looked at some of the picture. I looked at the instruction guide where I had a flat picture of it, and used the other whole piece because it had these panel lines on that, which kind of like gave me a little bit of reference on about how big it should be, how wide it should be. So I pretty much made my own. So yeah, I think it's all right. I don't think anybody's really going to notice unless I point it out, go, hey, that's not the original piece. But still, the whole point is, like, God, a little piece like that, and if it's gone, you're but heck, it's just I don't know, let's just say I kind of solved that problem, even though I was really pissed. I'm still upset about it, but heck, got past that. We'll just move on past that. And since we're about to go ahead and light this stuff and move on, some of the other things I want to be able to take care of is, before all this gets filled up, is, I'm starting to think about, okay, what's really next? The pipe, because the pylons are going to have to be dealt with, and the neck's going to have to be dealt with, and how do I want to kind of deal with this? Do I want to go ahead and already glue the bottom half of the pylons on here and do the other one separately? When do I want to do it? But either way, some of that stuff is going to have to be dealt with soon. So I went ahead and kind of just got work on the pylon pieces. Did the same thing, adhesion promoter, and sprayed the white and let it sit. I also light blocked the inside. Now, in case you're asking, why the f you light blocking the inside? There's no lights inside this thing. Well, you got to think about, if you don't, these pieces are kind of thin. So, and if you have it displayed and your outside environmental lighting, whatever your lights in your home or whatever, will shine through it and make the thing look transparent. So, you got to take care of that. And also the other modification is, when you put it together, you're going to have, well, at least for the kit I'm using, I think I have like 7 wires that have to come out through it. And if you look right here, there's no room for any wiring. So you're going to have to make a channel out of here. So I already did that. Here, I'll show you what I did. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I notched out a couple grooves using something like this and just kind of grinded it through. And then with that, it gave me just a channel big enough just to get my future wiring through there. Now that should fit through there, no problem, with 30 gauge wire. What else can I talk about on this thing? Oh, I also painted the neck detail, but that's about it on that. Okay, yeah, here's another thing I talk about since we're still on the topic of paint. Also, what I had to do to help get this thing dry is I have a project car sitting outside, which has just been parked for ages. Since it's summer and I've had the damn thing locked up, I just pretty much use the car as an oven. You know, the windows are rolled up, so in there during the day you can get about 120 to 140 degrees. So pretty much after I paint it, is the parts, they go sit in the car for 3-4 days and it'll be better. So basically I'm baking this stuff on, or heck, this stuff probably still won't be dry. Okay, so that's pretty much a 13-minute long rant before any electronics. So what I want to also show you here is, since now we're going to get on electronics, is my little piece here. You can't really see it because I have it masked. I have in here is an 0805 SMD, and I have the 2 wires going out. That's for the flood effect, as I'm about to show you in this screenshot. So now, as far as in the film goes, because I'm going to have the lighting set up to turn on and off like in the motion picture when they pretty much power up the Enterprise in that whole sequence. Well, you don't see when this one gets turned on, obviously, but it is a flood lamp in some sort, so I'm going to wire it with the pylon lights so it'll turn on the same time as they are. And of course I had to already put that in there because I needed to get this done before it can actually really do any of that. So as far as that goes, that's the only lighting that's in here, and yes, it does work, but I have it masked off for painting, so ain't going to really see much of it. So, and of course, go back, these are the lighting I'm going to use. I'm going to end up doing the spotlights first with 5mm that I've grinded down, and I just put a little dab of clear on the top to just to kind of make a lens so it's not diffused as much. And the reason why I'm going for these 5mm instead of like 3 is because, well, these ones are the only ones I have that are warm white. I like the warm white ones because that's what it looks like in the motion picture. So the reason why I'm doing these ones first, just because of all the room I'm going to need just to aim this thing just right. And the other thing we got to do to aim it is I got to put a pylon on, obviously. And I'll just tape it on here just to get it in place, and then we'll just work with getting that one on. After those are in place, then of course we'll wire up that little son of a bitch. Then we'll do the strip lighting that I already have pre-wired. Then we got to do the little nav light and the strobe down there. Just kind of take care of everything that's going to, excuse me, just to take care of any things that's going to be in the way of the shuttle bay, because then we got to do the arboretum, and we got to get this one wired in. And I believe I had a plan. I was going to wire this in with the turbo lift lights. So that was the plan with that. And then we'll put in the shuttle bay. Remember, these have already been fully tested, so everything works. And get all that glued in. And then we'll basically call this part of it done, and then we'll work on the top over here. Same thing with getting the pylons in there, getting the spotlights aimed for that. And then we gotta also, we're gonna have to modify this. Either we're gonna have to shave it down or cut it off completely, because it sits like basically right on top of this, the big strip lighting of the shuttle bay, and I don't want that to be in the way. So another bridge across when we get there. And then I haven't decided yet. Either we'll do the neck lighting. Well, actually we'll probably have to do the neck lighting and the torpedo base. So about to do a transition and get to work on that. So first thing I want to get started on is the spotlight here, since this is opened. One of the things we're going to have to do is actually going to have to kind of plug it in, just so we can see on where to aim it. So I should get my wires connected. Got a heartbeat. So that one's ready to go. And oh yeah, gotta put a temporary pylon in place. That's the right one, because you got to see what the f we're aiming to. So and also make sure the hole is not covered in tape. Make sure you have your stuff ready, your glue, your CA, because this is going to be a little bit of a only because, well, you got to try to hold it and glue it and all this other stuff. So let's turn the light on. I'm not going to be able to show you immediately on where it's supposed to go. In fact, I'm going to have to kill this overhead light just to help me out. Okay, so it's got to go right there. All right, so put some glue kind of on the spot. Oh, that's not good. I'm seeing a little short action. Means I need to get this thing kind of in place and kind of quick. Okay, I like that. A little bit more glue without getting it on my fingers. Zap. Gonna hold it. It's, come on. Didn't take. Well, it did. It took to my finger. I'll use Not great when you have a bunch of CA glue stuck to your finger. Oh, the tape's coming off. Yeah. So, okay, we're gonna have to redo this again. I need some acetone. Reason why I need acetone is because that helps to get rid of freaking the glue. Because you ever need to know, if you get it on your fingers, acetone will take it right off. Okay. Alright, let's try this again. Kill the light. Put the glue back on. Yeah, this is like the hardest part because it's like you need multiple hands. Okay, so if I hold it, come on, don't be that guy. See, this is why I'm doing this without the stuff inside, because then I'll be like, no way I can actually get this to aim right. Still having difficulties getting it to aim right and to be able to hold it. All it has to do is not fall down. Good. It didn't fall down, so now I can really seal it up. Turn my light back on. Double check my... See, you really can't see it because of that light over there, but I like it. Unplug this so I don't get any weird short actions. Take this off and move it out of the way. Oh, that was a pain in the butt. It was a real pain in the butt. Now I'm going to take some CA and I'm going to just kind of lock my wires in place so they don't move and get any additional shorts or whatever. Trying to prevent shorts because a lot of movement will cause a wire to break. Alrighty, so now that those are in place, I want to do one more testaroonie just to make sure. I'm going to start moving on to the next thing and notice, hey, there's a loose connection. Because at this point, there shouldn't be any. Oh, got a heartbeat. There. If you see it, but it's right there. Got a heartbeat. Okay. Spotlight is in place. So maybe now put in the little navigational light back at the end. I think what I'll actually do is I'll put canopy for the lens. Let me grab my canopy. And then I'll CA the wires. So I'll just dab canopy in there. High flower. Dog. All right, go play. Go play. Right. So Okay, now give a little testaroonie. The other thing about it's going to be hard about the navigational lights, according to instructions, to go to the board, they take 2 red wires. So I'm going to have to label this one on which one's the positive. And for some reason, I'm not getting a heartbeat, so I might be backwards. Yeah, I'm backwards. See, exactly. This is the negative. This is the positive. Yeah. All right. So I better do that one now. Just grab a little piece of tape and go positively. Get a marker. I gotta run this underneath the rest of the junk. Put you over here. I know it's hard for you guys to really see this. Yeah, I need more CA. Oh, this is just tedious. Tedious. Just as tedious as trying to get the pylon lights in. And a little on this thing. So now, canopy glue the strobe light. A little tiny hole in the base here. This one I'm actually going to just let kind of just sit, just because of where it's at. It's going to be hard to finagle wires. Come on. Why ain't you sitting in the hole? There you go. I mean, it's already a hodgepodge of wires already. Maybe I can do it. Just no. Quit moving around. Oh, you came out of the hole. You gotta get back in there. You have to get back in there. Yeah, zap, lock that LED in place. Okay, had some more overheating issues with the camera battery. I think I actually kind of figured out the problem is because I have the settings on super duper high quality, 60 frames per second. So I just kind of tweaked that down a little bit. Hopefully I'm still in the, decent 5K view. Anyways, went ahead and kind of finished up some of the lighting here. Where we last had it cut out was installing the strip lighting inside here. So I got the strip lighting in both sides. Also, I did some wiring cleanup. Kind of start making a little harness. Like this is for the strip lighting. This little bundle here is for the pylon lights and the little floodlight, the navigational light, and the strobe light. One more set of lights I need to put in here. While this thing was overheating and I had to cool down, I test fitted the shuttle bay, because the one other light, and I wanted to see if it'll work, is for the little blue lights that come, you can't see on here because I have it masked off for paint. The two little blue lights for the tractor beam emitters. I put it in, powered on. I was thinking that the strip lighting here would also have enough lighting to leak through and illuminate the tractor beam emitters. It doesn't. So what I came up with off camera is that using a pair of, I believe they're 0804 SMDs, really micro, really small, and in this case I have them wired together but onto one resistor, and the resistor I'm using is like I think it's an 850 ohm, around there. Basically, in other words, I could either done the usual one resistor each per LED for around the 200 or 300 ohm. But if you're gonna do like just something that takes like 2 and 1, you can do one resistor. You're just gonna have to ump the ohms up to almost double around there to see what you like. Plus, these are not supposed to be super bright, so I went a little bit higher to a voltage or to illumination factor that I liked. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to glue these in, and back here for where they're installed, it's a little recessed area. I'm not going to glue it like, you know, smack dab right on to aim it out. I just want to kind of like aim the light up a bit, so it's, you know, just not making a big old hot spot. Let's see, I'm doing a little test on see how I want to do it. Okay, I think that's how I want to do it. Get some more CA ready. Clean up this big old chunk. Got a little clog action happening. Maybe actually, let me do a medium for now. So, this is the tricky part. Trying to see it. Actually, that's a good idea too. Actually, no, I need to do it this way. Trying to actually, you know, get the right angle that I'm happy with. Better yet, you know, I'm gonna go on the down spot. I was gonna go up, but I'm gonna go down instead. Come on, get in there. There we go. I see it. Gotcha. Okay. Same thing with the other. Good thing about these wires on with these little pre-wired SMDs, they are like hair thin, means I can pretty much hide it in a real tight place. Okay, let me add some power. So this is kind of how it looks on the inside, which if you look closely, let me turn this light off. There you go. Yeah, you can see the blue light now. That works. That works. So now I gotta clean up this wire, and these will actually be wired with the I guess it's called the Landon Bay Assist. So that'll be wired with that, but that's going to be done up for the top part up here. So move this crap down here, and I gotta install this out of the way best as possible. Don't want to have it too tight where it yanks the wire out. You just get a little starter bit of glue. Actually, I need to clean I need the thick one, but I gotta get this. Oh, it already is. Okay, never mind. Already unclogged itself. Of course, the pain in the butt part of trying to get these in a specific spot where you can't even get your hand in there. And to where I can see. Ooh, I got it. Got it. Oh, sort of got it. I got one of them. Don't you hate it when one wire just slips out? All about cleaning up wires. Boy, this part kind of sucks, but it is necessary. And the crappy thing about these really super thin pre-wired is, for some reason, it's like trying to pick up a human hair. It's like, good luck. Okay, there's another good spot. Zap. Tell you one thing, this thing's going to have a lot of CA glue spots, that's for sure. Ah. Oh. Little spider walking. Zip kipped him. I don't know if that'll actually do anything to him, but. And the other thing I just mentioned when I said I test fitted the shuttle bay to test for the line back here, it's starting to kind of get a tight fit, so got to be just kind of, careful on as far as installing the damn thing, because with the addition of all these little extra wires, it's going to start adding up. Yes, the tedious part of wiring. Fishing wires through and all that other junk. Only because I'm locking this stuff down so it doesn't get snagged, and just trying to do the best I can to keep this thing nice and tidy. Okay, so now got one wire, and the other wire is where? Okay. Now double check all my connections, because I got so much going on here, especially where there's so many red wires. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. And of course, eventually I gotta make a long harness with all this wiring to go down through the tube, through the base, when I decide to make that thing. Okay, I think this thing is about ready for the shuttle bay. So, figure that one out in a minute. Mother... as I previously said, I was gonna, show you on putting in the shuttle bay. Like I always say before, and everything I kind of do on this thing as we go, especially when it comes with all the wiring and the lighting and all that stuff, is to test, retest, test again, retest with everything you do, just because if something goes wrong, you want to be able to make sure you're able to fix it before it's too late. So from previously, from what you just saw, test fitted the shuttle bay and the arboretum. Of course, the arboretum has to go in first because the shuttle bay kind of sits on top, on the back half of it. I put the arboretum in, and one of the first things I noticed is, because I have this, I know this is like, brain neurons here. I'll get to that. From in here, there's like almost zero clearance on being able to fish wires in and out if I went ahead and did the arboretum and the shuttle bay before, contemplating the wiring for the nacelles and the saucer and all that stuff. And just really trying to figure out, okay, how the fuck am I going to do this? So I basically had to pre-do the wiring for the whole thing, basically a wiring harness, and get that in, and then use whatever little clearance I have, and just kind of, put it off to the side or whatever. Well, anyways, good thing for myself using all the multiple colors of wiring that kind of matches to what the control board goes. It just kind of makes it easier to be able to figure out where things go. And I have them spaced in different bundles on per wiring line. Basically, like here's an example. This one branch here, this is what's going to go to the saucer itself. And I have like little bundles in there, which each bundle goes to a specific connector that's on the Tenor Controls board. And the corresponding colors of each bundle matches to what it's supposed to go. So that kind of helps that out. These two here are supposed to go up to the pylons. Same type of issue, matching wires kind of go. Well, as far as the pylons go, it's basically I kind of had to write that one down on a separate sheet of paper on what each color is supposed to attach to on basically on a bundle, because there's some of them that are identical. I have 2 browns here, 2 oranges, 2 blacks, but they go to something, but they each go to something different. And there are a few instances that it's actually like 2 red for like 1 LED. There's a red wire that goes into the positive and a red that goes into the negative. So kind of had to make little marks on which bundle. Basically, like this one bundle here. This one here basically goes for the mostly for the impulse engines and the torpedo bay. And there's like 4 red wires and 1 green. And throughout most of the wiring for this control board, it's basically kind of straightforward. The red wire you can tie in all together because it all goes to connector 1, which is basically it's the main power. It's the main positive power through most of it. Couple instances, it is not. Which for one, the landing sequential lighting on for the shuttle bay, that is in reverse. Pay attention to that one if you're using if you're going to use the same mega board. The red wire is actually a negative, and the positives are all the little separate individual colors, which that one, which you can't really tell here, but it's basically right here, which gave me to another issue. I had to re-streamline my shuttle bay, which you don't see all the wires up here anymore because, well, like I always say, test, retest, test again, test all this, make sure everything works. And you've seen me light it up. Well, that's okay if, you know, the red is the positive. Well, I will obviously at some point went into wiring hypnosis and kind of did it backwards. So I had to rewire all the landing sequential lighting. That's 10 LEDs. And basically it would be fine if there's a way you can reverse the polarity, but you can't. So it gave me the opportunity to kind of clean that up, and I have it now kind of going underneath it and out. So in this case, you know, I tested and it worked, because here, I'm going to show you a little thing that I filmed of it working. Just to prove it. Okay, now that you've seen that, yeah, this is, as of right now, this is like a cluster part, and there was no sense of really kind of filming that because this took forever. I mean, this actually took in my time that I'm able to do it, it took me about a week, because right now I'm extremely busy with real life, doing work, bullshit, and all the other crap. Not much time to really get to this thing. So that's why these videos are kind of a little bit late too. So the next thing that can be done is I got to put the LEDs on this, and I got to decide where I want to put the hole to run the neck wiring. And I also had to cut this part down so it's not pressed on too much right here, so I don't want to have like a dead spot over here. So whatever strip line I put right here, some of the light will pass through it. So it's basically got to put the navigational light, the 2 floods, and a strip light. So let me get kind of set up for that, and we'll kind of get started on that. And then after that, we have to deal with the pylons. We're going to need to kind of glue the pylons on each one of these, because once this goes in, that's it. And I kind of do want to get this sealed up so I can actually get the base coat and all this, all the final, any final sanding or touch-ups on it. I got a little bit of CA glue right here. I need to sand down a little bit just to clean it up so I can get the base coat on here. And I'm going to solar res all the windows, even the big ones. I just don't like the kit supplied windows. I've noticed a few of them are actually very tight to go in, and And I did do a few over here, which they're masked off. So I've kind of pre-tested it and I know it'll work fine. The only thing I got to worry about are these bigger ones right here, but as long as I can get to it and put a piece of tape on the back so I don't bleed through too much. So that's where we're going to kind of stand on this. So get started on that. I'm going to actually yeah. Okay. That's where we're at. Just wanted to update you. So now it's just like doing the spotlights on the secondary hull. Gonna have to kind of do the same thing. I taped up, you know, the pylon just to get it in place. Should get my CA glue ready. Try to get rid of this excess here. It's crap, even though it still works. Here. There we go. Kicker ready. Power ready. Because usually these spotlights are a fight. Got a heartbeat. Kill the overhead light. Gotta kill the main light too in here. Part of doing these damn spots, basically, you kind of have to do this in the dark. So let's do a little test run. I still have one light in here, so I'm not like perfectly in the dark, but sometimes you're just gonna have to fiddle around until you get what you like. I think right about there. Ooh, even that would be better. How does that look? Okay. So, one more. Let's look. Time to hit the CA. Kick. And hold. No fuel. Oh, god damn it. Oh, I can fix that. I can fix that. It'll be real quick. It stuck to the paint, but the paint gave away. So I'm just gonna glue the paint. And then I'll just go back and reinforce it later. But kind of hard to see it because I have that light in the way. That light turned off. It's motion censored. So yeah, it's kind of like that. So kick that light back on. All right. So I can take this one off. And I'm going to reinforce this a little bit more because of that little doohickey accident. Now to do the other one. Attach the pylon. It. Don't want to cover that up, obviously. So now we'll power this guy up. And kill this light so we can get a little look-see. I have to do this in the dark spot, kind of. And I'm just kind of rolling it around just to see what gives me the best look. Now I got that held. Just enough to kick that. Okay, reinforce. Hopefully we won't have the same accident like we just did. And my other light went out, so that's kind of good. Up the neck like that. That's kind of like how it should look. So disconnect that. So that's the spots. Set that aside. Now, I think what I'll do is the strip lighting. What I gotta do is be very careful on this sucker. Let me just move these out of the way. Strip lighting is gonna go on yonder. I'm sure you're looking at this as like, why don't you just use the sticky back? Well, this isn't actually on this strip lighting here. This is not a sticky back. It does not unpeel. It does, but it's like all kinds of gunk. It's like it's not really meant to be there. Of course, the usual, get a little bit on my freaking fingertip. Zap the end down, wants a curl. A little bit on the front. And a little bit of reinforcement. And always check and check and check and check. All right, that works. Now the little navigation light that goes right there. Actually, you know what? No. Need to do the tractor beam emitters that go right up here, but the best place to kind of put them, at least I'm going to do it, is I'm going to do it up in here. Something I do want to kind of point out is that there's an opening right here, so you're going to have the red light just come beaming out from underneath here. So what I did is, I'll show you, hold on. I cut out a piece of polystyrene, I used a thin piece of polystyrene. You can use it almost any thickness, but I just went ahead and used a thin piece just so I can easily cut it. I cut it to kind of the shape of here, and easy way I did it, because I used a thin piece of polystyrene, is I just cut a little square and I traced around here and cut it and trimmed it up to fit right in here. And of course I painted it black to kind of light block it from underneath, but the black side's going to be up, so which will, you know, kind of light block from underneath here. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and deal with these little motherfuckers. And this is just also basically just putting it, you know, right to the curved part. And I'm probably just going to actually kind of glue the leads. And I can seal it up on top. Now the same for the other side. Little locky poo. And I did the little paint pull away, so in that case, just do that. Glue the freaking paint. Now, try to secure this in place. It's everything I forgot. Always test. Not too far into where I can't test it, but I've got a couple red lights right there, so at least know we're good on that. Secure all that. Something over here. And over here. Same on this one. I'm going to need to dab this one down. Just wire into it. I'm leaving the wires kind of loose right here just because of the hole in the neck, since I got to put that, but I don't know exactly where I'm going to put it, so just kind of getting it locked and secured over here. Oh, gotta do the same for the spots. So I think I'll just do this over here. That run a little bit. That one. Oh, no, you don't. Now, so now, the nav, but I'm going to use canopy glue for that. Because I'm going to dab this right into the hole. So, and like the other bits of it, I've shaved down this 3mm LED so it fit nicer into the hole. But I'm going to leave that like that so it can dry standing up before I fold it over, because the canopy glue takes a little bit longer to dry. And then just like the rest of this, I'll fold it down and CA glue it into place. And of course, letting my black paint dry for over here, I'll seal that up so I won't get no light leaks underneath here. And I also have, this stuff is going to be tied into this branch of wiring in the front over here, which is also tied into the same type, the interior light and the spots over here, and the other navigational lighting that's down here. It's all tied into the same circuit, so that's where these will get attached to. And I guess after that, I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to do the pylons, get them glued in, because I cannot seal this on top until these are done, because you can't put these in after the fact. And then also from there, probably working on the neck detail. But I gotta do some testing on that before I put that in, before I put this in and seal it up. Just because of the wiring that goes through there, where I need to put this hole, just to mock it up to see what works best before you start diving into it. So I think this part of the electronics of the secondary hole is basically a wrap. So on the next video, we should be getting into more of the, I would say less on that and more on getting this stuff buttoned up over here. Dealing with the windows, like I said, I'm not going to be using the kit glass. I'm going to be using Solar Res. But I think I'll be doing the Solar Res before I end up putting the next base coat on this and getting all these little windows masked up, which I'll be using the stuff that's on here. No fly on it this time. So I think I'll see you on the next one, whenever that's going to be. Bye.